All right, everybody. It is Thursday.
It's
Lots
Thursday.
of news. It's Thursday. We're going to make it. We're going to make it.
That happened fast. What a delight. We do have a lot of fun stuff to talk about. We're talking about Meta's new text to video tool. You heard that right. And yes, it makes real videos. AI is here. AI is here. I'm officially scared now. Before, when I watched my Roomba bouncing off of everything and not being able to figure out how to get under the table, I wasn't worried about AI, but now I am.
And I think we are now in the final stages of the downturn. I've been saying I thought the summer would be and into the fall. Q3 and Q4 would be this bottoming out process, bouncing along the bottom. And what were the signs? I said it all along. The two signs I'm looking for is like the big companies to do RIFs and maybe people to cut salaries. Those are the hardest things to do. And right when we were on air, Meta is talking about a hiring freeze and then a restructuring, aka a gentleman's layoff is coming. Apple stock down 6% today after being down yesterday. That was one of the final cathedrals to fall. And then SoftBank, the Vision Fund, is cutting a third of their staff. So major rifts, major market downturns. This is the end game, everybody. We're going into the trough of the recession. We're in the eye of the storm. But the good news is there's some really good news I get into for startups.
Yeah, fascinating macroeconomic talk. And then I scamper, and Jake Cal just has a hell of fun talking about TV with Lon.
We talk about House of the Dragon, the 10-year time jump. Did it work or not? This class action lawsuit with Discovery for the HBO Max things. The CCP drama is obviously, a little bit of drama for General Zod's law. And the CCP centering a popular Chinese film. And then we talk about Nomadland and Amazon and just the great art of filmmaking and what Lon and I love about filmmaking, and which actors we'd most like to see do something completely boring like make a French omelet. It's a great episode.
Oh, stick with us.
This Week in Startups is brought to you by OpenPhone. As a startup founder, a lot of mistakes are easy to roll back, but using your personal cell phone number as your company number isn't one of them. OpenPhone makes it easy to get business phone numbers for you and your team right on top of your existing devices. Visit openphone.com/twist to get 20% off your first 6 months. LinkedIn Marketing. To redeem a free $100 LinkedIn ad credit and launch your first campaign, go to linkedin.com/thisweekinstartups. And Odoo is a fully customizable and fully integrated suite of business apps that lets you build and scale your stack as you build and scale your business. Your first app is free forever, and right now Odoo is offering $1,000 off your first implementation pack at odoo.com/twist. That's odoo.com/twist.
I saw trending on Twitter. Meta is getting in the OpenAI Dolly game. You can type something and get back a movie.
It's like, what do you even say when that's the headline? Like, we have arrived in the future, and it is exactly as banana pants as you thought it was going to be, because evidently you can now auto generate with AI. Like, we knew AI art was becoming a thing, and AI text. Exactly. It's been writing like little snippets
email sentence.
For ages. But now, evidently, the software is not yet open to the public. Meta has not allowed any external media to play with this platform yet, but users can sign up for early access to the makeavideo.studio landing page, and you just type in text and it creates a 5-second video max right now. No audio. I mean, I don't know what I expect. Oh, there's no audio in this video that a computer made out of the words I typed.
It's coming.
It's bonkers.
Well, I mean,
absolutely bonkers.
You can just type like, I want a teddy bear painting a teddy bear in an impressionistic style, and it will make that. So the data sets now are getting so good. The compute power is so good. And its ability to understand text is so good that, these things can look like they're CGI-ish. So I've always thought like it would be amazing for storyboarding to have a tool like this. I was always wondering why they didn't have this for storyboarding. So, you're working, you're Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, you're doing the Star Wars stuff, and you're like, all right, let me see. Give me Ashoka when she's like a young girl. And it's like, not too young, maybe like a preteen, like 10 years old. Okay, 10-year-old Ashoka. right, now I want her with her mom, and her mom is going to discover she has she's force sensitive. And so I want to have her lifting a cookie away. So I just want Ashoka lifting a cookie. And it's like building your storyboards, but it doesn't look at this fidelity. This fidelity looks closer to publishable than storyboard, which is really does. Like,
it's
whoa.
Not cartoonish. It doesn't look, it looks really, we have a couple of videos. If you are not watching us on YouTube, you should be youtube.com/thisweekend. Here's some video demos from this Make a Video website, because it is bonkers. So this one is a young couple walking in a heavy rain.
Okay, that's heavy rain. That's
heavy rain.
Couple.
And
I don't know how
walking.
It decided a cobblestone street. It added aesthetics to it. Cobblestone street. Just for
you have this
points.
like beautiful, like kind of light coming through. It's like the only uncanny valley thing about it is how they are walking in perfect sync. Did you see this?
Yeah, that's a little bit of a giveaway.
Like the legs.
Yeah,
that's a little bit of a giveaway.
Yeah.
And that lady's head is like not quite right, but still.
Yeah. That's how you know they're Nexus 6, Decker.
Right.
That's how you know they're replicants.
They're replicants.
They look real, but they're walking in sync.
They're walking in sync. That's how
couples
you can
walking
tell.
in sync. There's always a little bit of like somebody's leading, somebody's dragging the other person's arm. It's always a little bit of negotiation
together, just like that. And then there was some ponies on a beach. Is that what the next one is?
Oh, unicorns
running along a beach. Those are some scimitar-looking horns.
And again, they look like they're perfectly in sync. So this is something the algorithm's got to put a little variability into it. This is the algorithm being too perfect. We never said we wanted them in sync.
Do better,
it's
algorithm.
Come on,
do better. It's ridiculous.
The world is not that perfect.
The teddy bear painting a portrait, the AI decided you must mean self-portrait. And so then you have this teddy bear that's painting this like 3D version of itself.
Yeah.
And
these are
this video is
videos,
mind-blowing. It's 5 seconds, just a loop.
It's just these are little loops, but we've seen this movie before. Like somebody takes remember when drones came out and they were like, look, I made the drone go up and it stayed up for 1 minute. And then now it's like, yeah, look, I put a drone up there for 30 minutes and I put a machine gun on it and I, killed 3 mannequins and came back at 70 miles per hour. Oh, and it did it with AI because it did facial recognition and killed only the 3 people out of the 50 mannequins that we wanted to kill based on AI. You're like, okay.
Okay.
That's how these things jump. So just if people are wondering about like self-driving technology or other AI, like, solving chess, remember that one, or tic-tac-toe, these things, like, they kind of meander and then they're just all of a sudden go boop. And you get this like hockey stick, and we're in that right now. That's what you're experiencing on This Week in Startups in 2022. Yeah. And I think that's what you're experiencing with self-driving.
AI is making the jump. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's literally making the jump right now. We're right at that inflection point where these things are actually making us go, whoa. But previously it was like, okay, okay. Yeah. You guessed the next 2 words in Gmail. Got it. Okay.
Right.
I'd like to invite you to, like, okay, good. You got 2 words, but yeah.
There's that famous phrase about, I think, bankruptcy. Like, how did you go bankrupt? And it's like gradually and then suddenly. It was Ernest Hemingway. This is what we're seeing with AI. And for a long time, people were, we were starting to get unimpressed with it. Like, oh, all AI can do is give me real-time traffic information and route me around accidents and police. I'm not knocking that. I wouldn't kick it out of bed for eating crackers. That's pretty good technology. But then all of a sudden you're like on the cusp of, wow, I could write a screenplay and have a computer turn it into the movie.
I would kick them out of bed for eating crackers. That's just completely selfish. Crackers in the bed.
Utterly
horrible.
Derailed. He's like, that is awful, the cracker thing.
The cracker thing is unforgivable.
Apparently everyone is getting kicked out of bed for eating crackers in Jason's house.
Not cool. Not cool. I mean, I have this like battle for like, my wife is like, yeah, of course you could eat in the car. So I get in my car the other day. There's 3 plates. Like kitchen plates are in the backseat of my car with fruit on them.
Oh, yeah. No, we don't eat in
the car has been baking in the Northern California heat wave. So I open the door and it smells like I just, opened the dumpster behind Fuddruckers. I mean, I almost passed out. I took a picture. I sent it to my wife. She was like, oops. I was like, am I going to put a pin? I literally am now at the point. This is how passive aggressive this is getting. I was going to put a PIN code on my Tesla so my wife can't drive my car.
Does the kids eat in there? You're hilarious.
There's rules in my car.
She messes up your speed thing, right? Too.
Well, I locked all the cars in speed. I'm the other one. She wanted me to, this is like the modern relationship navigation. I put a speed limiter on our cars, 84 miles per hour, which means at 78, 79, it starts telling you like, hey, it starts slowing you down right about 78, 79. Why do I put it there? Because that's where you get tickets in California. If you go above 80, you're going to get a ticket. If you keep it under 80, just general rules. In my experience, this is not investment advice. It's not a J trade. But I think generally, if you're under 79 or under, they're not pulling you over. If you do pull you over, you get a warning because they don't want to fill out a ticket for 76.
Oakland, so you don't really get pulled over here. We don't
Oakland
really have
chaos. I went to Oakland last 2 weekends in a row.
In Oakland right now.
It's crazy. I went to Oakland and I was like, is this Grand Theft Auto or Fast and the Furious? Because all I want to do is take my kids to, I found the greatest ice cream place in Berkeley. Oh my God.
I've had it open in a tab ever since you mentioned it, actually. That's on my agenda for the weekend.
Right. It's incredible. So anyway, I went down the rabbit hole. It turns out Meta, FKA Facebook, I really don't like this, but Meta's got some dope stuff going on with regard to AI. And so
they have been heavily investing in this.
Yeah. And so you go to meta.ai, you'd think it's only Google with DeepMind. You think it's only, the OpenAI project, but it seems like Meta is hiring a lot of people, a lot of PhDs. So if you follow the Meta, META-AI Twitter handle, what I do is I go to the replies tab and the likes. And some of these tweets that they're doing, this is like a niche account. You start looking at the likes, and I found all the PhDs who work or who are fellows for AI at Facebook or Meta, whatever. And I started following them. So this is how I kind of just a little tip from JCal. Like you find these little things, you go check out their likes, you check out their replies, you see who's replying to them, and you start clicking on them, look at their bios. You can kind of find the people who are building the future. These people are really building the future over there. It's pretty crazy. They just spun out this thing called PyTorch, which is like a Python framework for artificial intelligence that I think was built inside of Meta, but they just gave it to the Linux Foundation, and the top individual at the Facebook AI is leaving to go run this foundation. So it's kind of interesting what's going on over there. Wow.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And again, people have no idea, I think, the extent to which this research has been happening at Meta and Facebook. And it partly because everybody was like, well, why are they and it was like, why is Meta building the greatest AI in the world to just optimize for groups you should sign up for, to show me more and more. It was sort of confusing to think about how it was going to play into the news feed, for example, or Instagram. But you have to assume that all of this has been about, certainly to be clear, it is about optimizing these ad serving products. That's what prints money, and the better they can do with that, the more money they're going to continue to make. So it's 100% aimed at that. But also, as we realize its metaverse ambitions, we got to figure it's about trying to create world building. Exactly. And create, if you could make that 5-second video of unicorns running on the beach, that means you could just write that into code. You could write world building into code and have it auto generate, and you don't have to animate any of that.
If I may, put together your 2 points.
Please.
And build on them. On the program today is Darina Kulya. She is the founder of OpenPhone. Welcome to the show, Darina.
Thank you so much, Jason. Great to be here.
Now, what mistakes do most founders make with phone numbers in their startups?
Really delegation, right? Because what ends up happening is that as a founder, when you're starting, you do everything. You're the salesperson, the support person, You make the coffee, you do HR, marketing, sales, recruiting, everything. Yeah. But then eventually you have people joining the team. And what ends up happening is if as a founder, your phone number, let's forget about the privacy, the spam, all that problem. Let's say it doesn't exist. But you're not going to want a year into your company, 2 years into your company to have all the support calls or all the questions come to you, because now you've just hired your support team. Why did you hire them? Yep. So that's another reason why having that separate number makes so much sense, because you can always delegate those calls to your team as you grow.
All right, everybody, here's your CTA, the old call to action. Twist listeners, 20% off any plan for your first 6 months. Just sign up at openphone.com/twist. And if you got an existing number, no problem. They'll port it right over. openphone.com/twist, openphone.com/twist today for 20% off. 2 excellent observations there. They hire these PhDs with the money they make from their ad network, and then they make a deal with them. Okay, listen, get people to click on more ads and let's serve people ads that are so creepy, they think that we've got a camera in their house.
Right.
And we're watching them make spaghetti. So we're going to, offer them this spaghetti sauce. Like, all the discussions, like I was having a conversation at the concert and then I came home and it was a Volvo ad. That's what you're experiencing there. So what you see in these cool, teddy bear painting a teddy bear and unicorns on the beach, that's what they're doing with AI. That's why it seems like the AI is reading your mind, because it's got so many signals across so many people in your social graph. We discussed this before. Okay, now they're terraforming. They're going to use AI to terraform, the metaverse.
Yeah.
This is why Zuckerberg is so drunk on this. And that's what I realized when I saw this. The reason Zuckerberg has so much conviction is because he's put these two things together, or really three. He understands the social graph and he's mastered how to surface for you things that provoke emotion in you, things that have emotional resonance. Okay. So let's just keep that one idea. I'm adding this to your two. He understands the social graph. Okay, great. And he understands how to give you things. Okay, here's a bar mitzvah. Here's a Trump story. Here's whatever news that make you come back. So he's an engagement master. Okay. He's the advertising master. He knows how to get you what you want and get those clicks for those advertisers, right? Most powerful ad network, one of the top two most powerful ad networks ever built, Google and his. Okay, now we got those two things. Great. Put those two things together, you get social media, you get Instagram, you get all that good stuff. But now you add the virtual reality piece, as you're saying, and terraforming. What if he built for you a world in which, the Rent the Runway, to do a callback to the Rent the Runway ad that we're doing here,
yes,
or whatever rental clothing company competes with Rent the Runway. Just give me a couple names here so that I can spread the love here. And
RTR.com/twist. But yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Yeah, but
they
anyway,
have competitors.
so
Stitch Fix,
they have,
let's say.
Okay, Stitch Fix, whatever. So now we have these other ones in there. And they build for you, Molly, when you're on the way to meet me for our investment team meeting in the metaverse. You walk through a hall, and your hall is a fashion show of all of this incredible world designed for you. Now, my journey to our staff meeting is going to be like Nick's and Mark Knopfler and other bullshit that draws me in to buy like some vinyl version or digital version of a Mark Knopfler concert that they recreated for me in the metaverse. They're going to combine these things and they're going to terraform ads in virtual reality with this technology.
Totally.
So it's going to be bonkers. Like the ads you see are going to be nuts.
I'm finally going to live my preteen dream.
Yes.
As evidenced in my absolute favorite show of all time back then, Gem and the Holograms.
Basically going to be Gem and the Holograms.
It's going to be Gem and the Holograms in real life. It's going to be truly, truly, truly outrageous because I will walk into my virtual closet.
Stand on your pedestal.
Stand on my pedestal and wear whatever outfit I want.
And you'll be able to talk to me like, no, red. No, more like burgundy. Somewhere between burgundy and a burnt orange. Give me like a sherbet and let's go accessories now. Diamonds. No, not diamonds. Emeralds. Oh, boom. And it's just going to be boom, 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 boom. Your outfit. And then it's going to be like, okay, based on everything you said and the last 3 movies you liked and the 2 places you ordered from on DoorDash, here's what we think your outfit should be.
And then I'm going to ride in on a unicorn.
To our staff meeting.
With hummingbird wings. Perfect. To our staff meeting. That is how I'm going to come to the staff meeting.
And I'm going to come in with like a headband and like a guitar. And I'm going to just come in playing some Mark Knopfler riff. And the AI is going to write the Mark Knopfler album and the Dire Straits album that never came out. It's literally going to make 5 more Dire Straits albums for me and have Mark Knopfler perform them. And those 5 albums are going to be better than the ones I love most. And they're going to be customized to me. So it's going to know, I really like Telegraph Road. I really like Sultans. I really like Walk of Life. And the AI will make for me a concert of Mark Knopfler that's better than anything Mark Knopfler ever wrote. This is going to be insane.
Yeah. And this is why he does not care if you make fun of his big doe princess eyes in version 1 of the metaverse. And, the fact that there aren't legs now and that the animation is kind of janky. He and all of these other scientists who are building the thing that you're talking about, which is is exactly what's going to happen. Yeah. Don't care what it looks like now. That is meaningless to them. It's sort of like every like product manager or coder in the world gets so irritated with managers because they present some, they're like, here's the absolutely magical AI that can auto-generate a conversation and a video and whatever. And then some manager and ding dong in middle management will be like, it doesn't look that good. And they're like, that is not the point. You have no idea how much genius and human hours and work went into creating this code. It will look fine later, but that's not the point right now. And I think that's where we are in the metaverse.
That's like the manager who's like, Christopher Columbus lands in, North America, and he's like, I've seen better. Like I kind of felt like it's not much different than Spain, and it's like, we don't even know what's here yet. Can we just get like 10 miles into this? Like it's looking pretty dope to me.
I will say Nick made an interesting point though, in talking about the rollout of this AI tool, which is that there's so much ill will.
Oh God.
So much ill will toward Meta that the responses are basically just like, no, thank you.
Of course.
And so you wonder, are they going to build this magical universe and no one's going to come?
It's just I'm trying to think of like the most horrible person in like another industry. Who's the horrible person who shows up at your party and then like offers you something that nobody wants? I'm like, maybe not.
Like R. Kelly. Kelly comes to your party.
No, nobody wants you to. Nobody wants you here.
Yeah.
Nobody wants you to perform. Nobody wants to give you applause. Nobody wants to give you attention, period. That's Zuckerberg's trap right now, is that just he's so universally hated that people are just going to be looking at any product he does and being like, not interested.
And you can literally
and then Apple's the opposite.
Right. And they're not going to make Gem and the holograms. They're going to make some like weird, sort of sanitized thing that only some people can play in for 30% cut.
Yeah. I don't know.
And it's only going to work on the iPhone.
Yeah.
Gem is truly outrageous.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Comfort.
That's right.
I remember that show, and I was just like, who watches this stuff? Like, girls, I remember being 12 years old and be like, girls are weird. Gem and the holograms? Like,
latchkey kid, my little butt home, get like a bag
I want to
of
see the Legion of Doom.
And be like,
I want to watch like the X-Men animated show or something. Like, can we have some superheroes in here?
Before we move on to SoftBank, there is a little bit of breaking Meta news that I grabbed before I popped onto the stream today, which is that Meta has announced evidently a hiring freeze.
Well, they knew that, yes.
Is warning now of a restructure.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now is getting real.
Now we're in full recession. It's a recession, folks.
Exactly. Because it has been, and I have actually been waiting for something like this because all my homies in media have been lamenting and laying off and talking about how it is an absolute bloodbath in the ad market right now. And so the real test was going to be, will it be an absolute bloodbath in the ad market at Google and Facebook? And it seems that, in fact, perhaps it could be, which is a big deal.
Well, the question is, at places where they have so much cash, they don't have to worry about this. Will they take the medicine because they want earnings to look good, right? So here's what's happening. You look at a company like Apple. You look at a company like Google. Look at a company like Facebook. They have tons of cash. This is not going to save so much cash that they couldn't weather the storm. They have so much cash they could weather it. Okay, so why would they do it? Well, if they perceive headwinds against the top line, right? People are going to spend a little less on advertising, or advertising growth is going to slow. Well, if they get those headwinds, then what they expected their top line revenue, instead of it being 12 billion this quarter, is going to be 11.5. Okay, great. So now we cut $1 billion in expenses from employees and $1 billion of marketing expenses, $1 billion of whatever expenses, offices. Okay, now we're going to be negative 500 million per quarter in expenses. Therefore, the earnings stay the same, or maybe even the earnings improve.
Yeah.
So if your top line growth slows, how do you keep people buying your stock? How do you keep your stock at a certain price? You make the earnings look good. How do you make the earnings look good? You got to cut costs. So that's what's happening here, is they're not making these because they fear they're running out of money, or they don't want the employees, or they don't want the resources the employees provide. They're like, you know what? We cut 10%, we cut 20%. Everything is more efficient, as we had in the gospel according to Bill Gurley on Tuesday.
Yep.
The gospel told us, like, do a riff, like, and it has to be significant so you can actually get the benefit. Yeah, you got to get the benefit. So this is the beginning. And, I don't know why Sundar and Zuck are so genteel about this, but they've taken 6 months to warn their employees and terrorize them. Oh, everybody's got to work harder. We got to perform better. We got to be more conscious of expense. It's like, hey, guys, make the goddamn cuts and stop torturing people about it. Like, if you're going to do the riff, just tell every manager, you've cut your bottom 1.5 people. So you got to cut 15%. You got a 200-person team. 30 people got to go. You know what you're doing. You run your department. You have to wake up every day and hit your goals. Hit your goals, or better, with 15% less people. Let me know who we're letting go. That's it.
Yeah.
There's been 6 months of this.
It really has. You're right. And now even the fact that they're doing a freeze, but warning of cuts is the same thing. All you're doing, and this gets to Gurley's other point, right? He was like, I don't like a 10% cut because you don't save enough money to make it worthwhile. And this is the important second part, you incur a morale.
Yes.
A morale hit that is unnecessary and you didn't even get anything good out of it. This is just destroying morale internally. And you got to think at Facebook, your options are worth, what are we at? Half now? What they were
less
last year? Maybe less. Yeah. And so your options are worth nothing. You're constantly under threat that you're going to be laid off. It's like living on the Dread Pirate Roberts ship, like I'll most likely kill you in the morning. You're not doing your best work. It's amazing that they managed to put out the auto-generate the unicorns thing, because you got to feel like they're not that stoked about working there right now.
Hey, everybody. I'm here with my pal, Tom Eschbacher. He is the Senior Sales Manager at LinkedIn Marketing Solutions. And today, we're going to talk about marketing for startups. And LinkedIn did a great new internal report called Today in Startup Marketing. Welcome to the program, Tom.
Thanks, Jason.
We all know organic reach, super important. You make great content, you get your likes, you get your shares, you get your comments. But what people don't know is that you can boost organic and it creates a bit of momentum on your site. Can you unpack that for people?
Definitely. So organic is just going to go to the audience who's already following you, and then a smaller group of members who are connected to any of those audiences. So what we often encourage is keep an eye on your organic engagement metrics and who are the people and companies and segments that are engaging most frequently with your content, and then amplify that reach via our best-in-class paid advertising targeting. So what that means, and what we've seen, especially for seed and Series A companies, is by boosting successful organic posts with paid, it results in a 13x lift in unique reach. And that's really meaningful insights that can help inform your product and go-to-marketing strategies and open up new audiences for you.
You can go to linkedin.com/thisweekinstartups and get the report for free, as well as $100 from Tom. Here's the next shoe to drop. It always was in our industry that if startups weren't hiring, you had this backstop.
Mm-hmm.
I can go get an offer from Apple, Google, Facebook, Uber, Airbnb. I can go there. I can get like 2 offers. Then I can bring it back to my startup boss, a Series B company, and ask for more equity, negotiate harder. Now, those people who are going to get laid off from Facebook and Google, they're going to be like, I need to get a job. And they're going to go apply at Google, and Google's like, we're not hiring. And Apple's like, we're not hiring. And they say, well, I'll go work at a startup. And now the startups will say, well, we've got 6 months of runway. And this is when you actually get a recession. Is like there's a couple of towers that have to fall along this process. Crypto is easy. There's no core value there.
Yeah, totally. It was always a bubble. It was born a bubble.
The bubble never got filled in. It was just all hot air. Yeah. So it decompresses 90%. Some coins go down 99%. The best coin, Bitcoin, goes down by whatever, 60, 70%. It goes down to 20,000 from 70,000, 19,000 from 20,000. Okay, great. We deflate that bubble. Stocks. Okay, which ones do we go first? Growth. Great. Boom. We collapse them. The Buco Capital tweet. We all love that Buco Capital
can Twitter we pull that up about Apple?
Nick's,
is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, this is Buco Capital. After Artie Buco from The Sopranos. This is Nick's burner account, I'm convinced.
It's Nick's burner account for sure. It's so good.
Anyway, he's
this is one of the towers, right? You start to see Facebook freezing and laying off, and then Apple stock, which is literally gold, right? You buy that, not literally, but you buy it instead of gold. It is a nugget whose value will not go down. And this tweet the other day was like, investors who've been hiding in Apple are about to have a bad time, he says. And then he's like, good.
A colloquialism for getting screwed. That is incredibly graphic from the film Training Day.
Horrible. I was wondering where that was from. Anyway, it says, let's get this over with. Flush it. No more ticky-tacky BS. No more head in the sand. Can't heal till we're fully broken and there's no hope left. Repent. Give us our medicine. He's basically like, sell Apple. There's nothing you cannot. If you refuse, here he goes. What don't people get? If you refuse to relent, you keep trying to hide. The Fed is going to keep destroying your wealth. Stocks need to go down. Spare us the pain. Speed up the process. Quit trying to fight it. Sell, sell, sell.
I mean, Apple was the last place you could put your money and feel like, okay, this is one of the last towers, right? So
and
this is the bottoming out process. Yeah.
Today. Apple's
And it
down
was-
6% today. And Apple said, remember how there was that, like they were going to produce more iPhone 14s? Then they walked that back. And we're like, ooh, actually, we are not going to produce as many iPhone 14s, even as we had initially, I think, predicted, because the demand was not there. You had that tweet about discretionary spending the other day. You were like, people can wait. People are waiting on the new iPhone. So this tower
predicted that, yeah.
Some bricks are coming out.
This is the process, right? Like they want to stop inflation. They raise the rates. They threaten to raise the rates more. And the free money train stops. And here we go. Eventually, tech workers, high paid work from home tech workers were like, it was like finance people, media people, tech workers. Like finance people, they got washed. Okay. Media people, journalists, obviously they got washed. Okay. Tech workers is all that's left. They're about to get washed out. Not all of them, but 15%. The other ones are still going to make their, $200,000 a year or whatever they're making and get their laundry done. Or maybe the laundry service is going to be like limited to like one bag a week or something. But
Ixnay on the laundry lay. Yeah, exactly. But no, it's
austerity. This is part of the process.
And it's almost like how we're there. I feel a weird sort of relief because like being very online and working in the industry that we do is like being in a time machine. Like you know what's going to come. Like we see the future. Right. By virtue of people on the ground in different places who are already living that future, or because there's so many signals that it is, we're pretty good prognosticators. It's impossible to miss. I feel almost like a bit of relief when the future finally arrives. And I feel like we're there now. Like the recession started this week.
Well,
the bricks are coming out of the Apple Tower. Like,
absolutely.
Okay, now we know we can get through. We've prepped and prepped and prepped and prepped.
Yeah.
And now it's here and we just got to get through it.
The storm is here. It's almost like it's this, I hope everybody in Florida is okay.
I was trying to avoid that exact metaphor. I know. I was like,
this is part of it. You have to weather the storm and you have to make plans for it. And, some houses that were not, built the correct way, or they were built in the wrong place, they get washed out. And that's part of the process in this, is like companies that were not on stable footing, not on stable foundations, will get washed out to sea. They're gone.
Right.
Like that. And that's startups or other companies going away. It's brutal when you go through it, but I kind of feel like you do, that this is the bottoming out process. We were technically in a recession. We had 2 quarters of negative growth, it seems. So the question is, how many quarters does a recession last? I think they typically last 3 to like 8. So we're in the 3rd quarter of this, and I think it's going to go like 4 or 5 quarters, and then we start building back up again. So and you can build a great company anytime, as Bill Gurley said. So this is a great time to build a company, because now somebody got laid off from Facebook, somebody left Google, they got reorganized out of Apple, whatever it is, where Apple says, hey, guess what? We're coming back to the office 5 days a week. You don't like it. You just voluntarily got laid off, and we don't have to give you a severance package. Thanks. Like, that's the power move. If I was Zuck, I'd have been like, yeah, you know what? We're coming back to the office 4 days a week. If you don't show up,
you're out.
We're done. I mean, and Zuck may do that. Zuck's hardcore. If I was Zuck, that's what I would do. I'd be like, you know what? There's no COVID anymore. It's an endemic. It's not a pandemic. We're done. Come to the office, or you have no job. The end. And then you don't have to pay 6 months crazy severance, whatever these tech companies do. And your options are washed. You're good. That's like the hardcore move. I bet you he does it. It's just like, we're coming back. We're coming back. That's it. If you don't want to come back, it's okay. If you don't want, that's what Apple did, right? They said 3 days a week.
They did. Yeah. No, I think they're different. I think Apple's a little older school. Like, I think we're starting to realize that Apple is got a little bit of 90s management going on. It's like very top down, very hierarchical. Like, I'm not too surprised that they're the company that said come back. A guy who's building the metaverse has less of a leg to stand on with like a y'all in the office, And
has like 1,000
acres
have any legs on Kauai, 1,000 acres on Kauai, and like 18 acres of lakefront property at Tahoe. Like,
exactly.
Kind of hard for him to come back if he's living in Tahoe and Kauai. And by the way, I'm not like doxing him. He's incredibly public. He's like literally carrying an American flag on Lake Tahoe.
He's
like,
buying all
he's
the
not
houses
very subtle
him.
about it.
Exactly.
He's like literally in a war with the people of Kauai over like their ancient burial grounds and like ancestors' land. And he's like, yeah, I bought it. And they're like, but
the worst.
You can't buy that piece. He's like, yeah, I bought it.
Just
like, dude, read the room. Everybody hates you.
It's the worst.
Do you have to buy everybody's acreage in Kauai? Like, just buy it and make it part of a natural preserve, and name it after some ancient forefather or foremother,
Yeah.
in Hawaii and be a cool dude. Instead, he goes to Kauai like an idiot and just. Do you know how the Hawaiian people are about their land and like their tradition? Like,
I mean, we can't leave Larry
comes,
Ellison out of this conversation either, right? This is there's plenty of colonizing happening here.
Well, when he bought Lanai, though, he made it. I think he made this agreement that it would never be developed. So it was almost like he's going to die. He knew this. So when he bought
parts of it, I think he's building like a huge hotel there.
He's got there's 2 hotels on it now, but he also has all the subsidized housing on it for the people who live there. And so he's like, he did it right. Like people love him there. He's revered, I believe. Whereas Zuckerberg is like, anyway.
Listen, if you're a founder or an employee at a startup, it's critical that you become capital efficient at this time. Fundraising is tough right now, and cutting your burn is really important. And one great way to cut costs is to run all of your SaaS apps on one platform. And that one platform, Odoo. Odoo is the only software your company will ever need. Using Odoo's suite of business apps means you don't have a bunch of messy SaaS subscriptions. No, everything you need is already on Odoo. All you have to do is turn it on when you're ready, and they'll only charge you for the apps that you use. Odoo has over 40 main apps and 16,000 from their open source community. Sales, accounting, marketing automation, HR, website builders, and so much more. And this will streamline your business. No more issues with transferring data back and forth. Nope. And you'll have one customer support contact across all your apps, not 20. And you're going to get more done in less time while saving a ton of money. And here's the best part. The first app is always free. And Odoo is offering $1,000 in credit on your first implementation pack. So go to odoo.com/twist for $1,000 off. That's odoo.com/twist.
So this leads us into, briefly,
so Zuck's layoffs are coming, great.
Zuck's layoffs are coming. SoftBank is reportedly planning to cut at least 30% of the headcount at the Vision Fund. And this is like so dislocating to have been watching the shows, right? Like watching We Crashed and just remembering, like kind of reliving the time when SoftBank came in and changed with Malibu's book, changed the entire industry with this just like super yacht boatload of cash, and now has lost so much.
It is confusing, the structure. There are 2 structures: the SoftBank, the corporate, and the SoftBank, the Vision Fund.
Right. So there's the Vision Fund, which is the one that rampaged in with all the money and changed the entire venture industry and has reported a loss of $21.7 billion in the quarter ending in July, SoftBank's fiscal Q1. And then there's SoftBank, the company, right? Just this huge sprawling company. And SoftBank itself posted net losses of $15 billion and $23 billion in the last 2 quarters, respectively. So you could sort of see why they're laying people off.
Yeah. And just so people understand, when we see the people who have the biggest piles of money doing significant cuts, you want to talk about a riff here, we're talking about 30%. Okay, Bill Gurley said 5 to 10's you're not going to feel it, 15 to 20 you do. Now we're talking 30 here. These are significant rifts that are going on here, reduction in force.
Yeah.
And if the big companies are also doing rifts, I believe Apple has basically done a de facto riff. I don't know how many people left the company because of the 3-day-a-week thing, which started in last month, I believe. Yeah. But you are going to see a lot of people in tech looking for jobs. And when a job description goes up, you might have, instead of like nobody apply or a bunch of green people apply or, weak candidates apply or no candidates apply. Now you're going to start to see like people competing for jobs. It's going to be gnarly. 2023 is going to be a bit gnarly. For startups, fantastic. Mm-hmm. You might have somebody who made their money and got their options at Apple or Facebook, and they're like, you know what? I'd like to own some equity, and I can work from home instead of going to Apple's office. Yeah, I don't care. Pay me whatever you want. I already made a couple of $1 million. I'd love to work on a startup. Yeah, I'm equity driven, not cash driven. So the people who used to be equity driven and want to own a big piece of a startup, a couple of points, at the founding of it or something, they were like, I'll take the points and the cash. I want you to match my Apple offer and I want the cash. And I had people come to me like, I raised like $1.5 million and this person wants 400,000 because that's their RSUs at Facebook or whatever. And they hit the jackpot and they got in early. And I'm like, yeah, you can't hire them for that. Like that's not possible. Like you can offer them 150K, like maybe, like you're a seed stage company. You've like, who do I hire? I'm like, get creative. And that's when people started hiring in Canada, Uruguay, Ukraine, like that. This is why people got creative. And this is the great thing about founders, they get creative. Now you might be able to hire somebody in San Francisco Bay Area, somebody living out in Utah, whatever, who worked at Apple, and they're like, yeah, I'll take a flyer. So this is going to be great. That now the industry builds back up, and the talent goes to the remaining projects. So now what we're going to see also, Molly, is the consolidation of talent. So let's say half of the startups that, let's say, in a given year, 20% of startups go away. Okay, now it hits 40, right, during this terrible time. Like, it accelerates. People can't raise bridge rounds. You get a bunch of companies hit the wall. They can't raise a bridge round. The most talented people from those can't get jobs at Google. They go work at the other 60% of startups. They want to work at a startup, let's say. They prefer being at a small company. Those folks, now you get consolidation. So the stronger, the rich get richer, the strong get stronger, basically. So the strongest startups get the best talent, and they get them at a better price. That means whoever makes it out of this is going to be hardcore teams with like great benches. It would be like taking the NBA and you're like, you know what? Let's go down to 18 teams.
Right.
And you're like,
we
what?
just distribute these players, massive wealth redistribution.
Exactly. And now all of a sudden,
talent.
instead of having one all-star or 1.5 all-stars per team, you got 3. Now everybody's a super team. If you went to 12 teams, 6 in the East, 6 in the West, and you just played tournaments, or let's say 8 and 8, you just took the playoff teams, it would be just like getting rid of all the teams that didn't make the playoffs. Just 16 teams, boom.
That would be awesome.
Incredible. The league would be much better to watch. In fact, Nick was saying this.
Nick was saying this exact thing. Yeah.
There should be 2 leagues.
He's got a whole relegation strategy that's like football, European
like
football.
Soccer, yeah.
And next up, actually, Jason, I have to go. Jason's going solo with Lon Harris.
Solo dolo. I'll take it. I got it from here.
Okay, thanks.
You're good.
Okay, have fun.
Dismissed.
Okay, bye.
All right, it is Thursday. It's Thursday. That means This Week in Streaming with Lon Harris. Beard's looking strong. Strong beard game for those of you on YouTube. I saw
it could use a little more shape. It could use a little more form. I'm letting it go a little bit.
We put a little hair gel in there, a little product.
Yeah, no, I don't usually do the product, but it needs to be cleaned up a little bit and like straightened. It's a little all over the place.
I'm not watching Lord of the Rings.
You're out.
I'm out. I was like, I think I'm going to wait to the end, and then when I have a dry season of nothing to watch, I'm going to binge it and give it a chance.
I think that
we're here
makes
on
sense.
Thursdays.
Yeah, I love it, but I do recognize that it has a level of depth for people who love Tolkien that, and I don't think they're not going very far in bringing everybody else on board. Like, they are counting on you being pretty invested in this world and its rules and its how things progress, and at least knowing the story of Lord of the Rings pretty well. And I'm finding that the less that you can pick up on all those references and Easter eggs and ideas, the more this show is sort of leaving you cold.
This is the challenge, I guess, in today's modern age. I just want to start with House of the Dragon. I love the last episode. I was prepared. I came in. I was ready to be upset at the recasting of the lead part, and it worked for me. So, it's mini spoilers here, and by the way, my wife is watching this. She hates violent shows. She refused to watch Game of Thrones, and now she likes the show. I think because of the female lead characters.
Yeah, it is less. There is still violence and gore, and it is still upsetting at times. But I feel like it's fetishizing that stuff less. Game of Thrones really came in with that very strong idea of like, this is not like other fantasy, and this is the hardcore, edgy fantasy. This is like, what if all this stuff was gritty and real? And I feel like House of the Dragon is like, okay, you love this world, and you love these kinds of stories, and the dragons, whatever. It's not, that's not the major selling point this time. The cruelty, the brutality, the sexuality, they're downplaying that stuff more in favor of the storytelling and the maneuvering and the politics. It's also a thing I've been enjoying about it. There's a lot less magic. There's a lot less fantasy. It's a lot more like the politics. And then it does happen to be this one family that has dragons. So there's that level of,
baseline of fantasy.
It's not our world. There's dragons. There's seasons that last a really long time. But it's not every episode is, well, there's this magic temple they've got to go to, or there's, the faceless men, or this god or that god. It's very ground level so far in terms of like, just people maneuvering
they call that
around
in the business?
One another.
Palace intrigue. There's a lot of like palace intrigue, if you will, in the show. I guess the key thing was this high-risk maneuver. They decided to replace 2 female characters. Emma Darcy replaced Millie Alcock as Rhaenyra Targaryen.
Rhaenyra Targaryen, yeah. It was
She was the
basically our
princess
main
now.
character.
Our main character. And, I wanted to be upset by this because it seemed like, well, they didn't replace the guy. They didn't replace her cousin. But
Matt Smith.
They pulled it off, didn't they?
I thought it worked really well. Olivia Cooke also stepped in for Emily Carey as Alicent Hightower, who's currently the queen. I thought it worked really well. It
I didn't even notice the queen changed.
Yeah.
That's so weird. The actresses were so close that I was discussing with my wife, and I was like, did they change them, or is this like some aging or whatever? But Rhaenyra's husband also got aged, so they did replace a man as well. So
yes,
it wasn't just one person getting replaced.
Yeah, they aged up, and I think I like how they did that. It really reinforces not just how much time has passed, but how much has changed in the relationship between these two characters when we last saw them versus when we see them again. We got to see them as childhood friends, and now they've grown up and they are bitter rivals. And I like that it really reinforced that like this is we're stepping into a whole new world. This was almost like a new pilot in some ways, where it's like we got to reset the whole stage. And I saw some people on social media were a little negative about that. It's like, I don't want to start all over. I just got into this show. I don't want to get into a new show.
I like the fact that they started all over and that they had these new actors. It is really effective to jump time, to have these new actors jump time.
Yeah, I really liked how they sort of pulled it off. And also that you get to see the progression. I was sure the king was going to be dead by now because he's got leprosy or whatever is going on with him. But no, he's still around, and they got to progress his illness, which was really fun for the makeup and design teams.
This show is like the greatest hit of the year, I think. I think this will be the show of the year. Am I correct?
I mean, look, there's a lot of great. Reservation Dogs just wrapped up its second season on FX, which was amazing. Severance was this year, which is definitely one of my favorite shows. The Bear, I really loved The Bear.
All of those, I think, are great, but none of them have the scale.
I mean, right. This way, if you're talking about the biggest show of the year, the most like epic show of the year, then yeah, I think this is definitely up there. But I'm holding off on maybe best so far.
Yeah, if I defined best as in most popular,
it's certainly a huge hit for
amongst
HBO.
The most well done. Because you could argue, maybe the performance is in The Bear, or I preferred Severance because it was unique. Well, I mean, you might have preferences, but
in terms of the impact, this is definitely delivering for HBO. And there were a lot of question marks around, is Game of Thrones still even a viable franchise? I mean, people were really down on that final season. I think it was a big question mark that was very crucial for HBO. They really needed this. And I think this now answers it. It was a question mark.
And now it's an exclamation point.
Exactly.
It's like, this is and so this is my other question. If it was a question mark, did they say, let's make this self-contained 1 or 2 seasons, let's move the story along, let's just get a big win here, as opposed to, hey, they could have drawn this out. We could have had Millie Alcock for this season. They could have done this change next season or in the middle of next season. It feels like they're moving so fast here that this is going to wrap up.
I mean, I don't know. He's got that whole Fire and Blood book that George R. R. Martin wrote that they're sort of cribbing off of, which is almost written like a history. It's not written like a novel. It's written like a history book about the Targaryen dynasty. So they've got a lot to work with. I think even if the focus shifts between characters, I think they've got this whole world 200 years before the battle, Robert's Rebellion and the story of Game of Thrones.
I mean, it is moving at a fantastic pace. And I think that makes it good TV. And I could see another production company, or I could see another, streamer saying, hey, let's milk this.
Well, the other thing that HBO did that's pretty canny is rather than just putting all of their focus on one Game of Thrones follow-up, they worked on like 8. They still got a ton of spin-offs in development. So there was going to be one with Naomi Watts where it was going to be about a different, I'm blanking now, but it was a different prequel story. And then there's one about the sea snake before the action of this show. And then there's one, Corlys Valerian. You've met him. Yeah. So there's one about him as a seafaring adventurer. There's one about Princess Nymeria, like 1,000 years in the past, like one of the folk legends in this era of Westeros. There's the Dunk and Egg ones, which is about about like a knight and his squire and their adventures. So I think they're throwing everything at the wall and they're seeing which project looks the best, like which pilot looks the best, which series is coming together the best, which ones do we like the most, and then the cream rises and the others get scuttled. I
like it as an approach. You know,
yeah, I think that's a really smart approach.
Put a couple of pokers in the fire, see what gets hot.
And this show came out first because this was the one they felt strongest about. They were getting all these pilots and these scripts in, and they were like, this one's good. And then the next one that looks, I think, the best chance is the Jon Snow sequel series. So, you know, they're giving themselves time to see what bubbles up and what ideas are kind of coming together the best, which is a pretty smart way to do it.
I mean, this is getting talked about. It's got a lot of buzz. Obviously, people in your life are probably talking about it.
Yeah, it's almost, I mean, at this point, it's getting about half of the viewership week to week more. It's getting about 29 million views week to week. At its height, Game of Thrones was getting 40, 45 million views week to week. Like, to get that close to season 8 Game of Thrones within 5 or 6 episodes is stellar. I mean, very good. Like a sign that people are very much still into Westeros and eager for more content.
This makes me sad that they couldn't figure out how to do this with Sopranos, especially before all the principals started dying.
Yeah,
you know, there could have been all kinds of interesting spin-offs and whatever. And
I mean, honestly, I liked All the Saints of Newark more than most, but it definitely felt less like a standalone movie and more like it should be leading into more of a prequel. Like, I would really want to watch a story about, you know, Tony's ancestors fighting for control of Central Newark against Leslie Odom Jr. and his crew. Like, that sounds great. That would have been
a great pilot episode. They should have done a pilot. Right. It was like a movie. And then, like we talked about, going to the, okay. So Warner Brothers Discovery is being sued in a class action suit. Speaking of HBO.
Yes.
The suit alleges that WarnerMedia inflated HBO Max subscribers by 10 million during the merger.
We know this
with
is true. HBO, they admitted this in their August earnings report, their first earnings report after the merger. So the first earnings report of WB Discovery is its own company this year in August. They came out and they explained overall domestic US subscribers, there was a drop. And so they explained, well, this was because HBO Max, WarnerMedia used to count AT&T wireless customers who were gifted subscriptions to HBO Max as HBO Max subscribers, whether or not they signed up. So if you're an AT&T wireless subscriber and we're like, hey, go to HBO Max, sign up with your AT&T wireless number, we'll give you 6 months for free. Even if you never bothered to go to HBO Max and actually complete the sign up process, they counted you as an HBO Max subscriber.
This is a little shady. It is definitely shady. It's gray.
It's a little shady.
It's gray. There's a little bit of gray on the black here. This is really misleading investors. They're going to lose this. They're going to settle this case for sure. Right. And this is always for here we are on This Week in Startups and This Week in Streaming. Just never do this kind of shady stuff with numbers. I know people want to hit numbers. The better thing to do here would be say, hey, we have access to this many subscribers, and we've converted 16%. And we think we can convert 70% based on hitting these targets. They should have just sent all these people a deep link. If they wanted to fugazi this, there's a better fugazing way. They should have just sent everybody who's on the wireless a link that said, click here to activate your free, and then opened a session with them with like a hash without them having to sign up and just start playing House of Dragons.
Right.
Like, if you click that link, you're automatically in as user 1234567. Whatever.
Right. And then it's a subscription.
If you watched an episode, then you're like, hey, what shows do you like? Then on the back end, it says, put your email in. Put your family's emails in so they can also share this. And then it sends links there. So this shows like a level of buffoonery on the part of the tech team. There's a very simple way to do this. You have some websites, you click the link in the newsletter, you're logged in when you get there, right? So when I'm using Nextdoor, maybe using a real estate site, Redfin or Zillow, they're pretty sophisticated. Like, we don't want to put up a login. We know we lose 2/3 of the people and have to log in. So what they do is they make the URL unique to you. It lasts for maybe a week in your email. Then that URL turns off. And what's the crime? What's the damage if you forward the email and they logged into your account? Oh, they watch Sopranos, and now your feed has a Sopranos episode watched. It's not a big deal. So dumb. This is dumb. Bad execution.
It is. I think the one thing, it's a little. This story got reported yesterday, and I think a lot of people thought they did detective work and figured this out. It's like, no, this is a thing we've known happen. And this happens a lot. Like, a lot of other streamers have done similar things. It's really like the lawsuit names Zaslav and the CEO, the current CFO of Discovery. This is really on WarnerMedia. This is how WarnerMedia had been counting it during the AT&T era. They just didn't. Zaslav probably knew and didn't say anything, but it wasn't his call. This was a WarnerMedia way of counting HBO's Max subscribers to maximize them, to make it sound like the numbers were a little bigger than maybe they were.
Well, I'll tell you what.
It's also 10 million that's not even moving the needle.
Yeah, at this pace, with the Game of Thrones, with the industry euphoria, I think HBO hands down is the best streamer right now. What's your ranking right now?
Yeah.
If you had to keep 3 services, for me it's HBO. Give me one of yours. You have to keep.
I think
3.
Yeah. I think if you're talking in terms of bang for your buck, like most good quality content for what you pay, HBO Max and Hulu to me are pretty far and away the best two.
And then I put Disney Plus rounds out my third because I have kids and I love the Star Wars
Disney
franchise.
Plus too. I like the Star Wars show. I like having that stuff. And they actually have a surprisingly deep, library. Like I just want Avatar on there. And
so those are your 3. Those are your top 3. If this is for Lon, I don't want you thinking about this like as a journalist or an analyst.
No. I know.
I'm changing your passwords for 4 down. You can keep 3. I'm changing those passwords for the rest of the year.
I believe those are my 3. The only other thing I was going to say. Those are my 3. The only other thing I was going to say is if we're talking about consistency, like they have the most good stuff versus the stuff they release. Apple to me is Apple's batting average is beyond almost any studio I can think of. Like they're sniper shotting it.
Like I watched. Was it Tehran was on there?
Yeah,
it was out in Amazon.
Tehran is Apple.
Yeah, I mean, that was really well done. That was like watching a better version of Homeland. Not maybe the actors weren't as good, but I was like, this is incredibly well done. They seem to be like, and they're almost like an HBO-ish, but maybe not as edgy. So you don't get the sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
It's that same. It's the FX. It's the HBO. If a show is on this network, it's good. You can rely on.
The brand means something.
Yeah, and that's for a non-studio to come out and right away develop that level of curation. That there was Wild
impressive.
Horses, that Gary Oldman spy show. Olivia Cook, who's in House of the Dragon, she's in that. It didn't even interest me that much. It was this British spy show. Gary Oldman's in it. Terrific. It's just if it's on Apple TV, you can pretty much count on it's going to be worth your time, and that's really I really value that. So I did want to single them out. They don't have nearly as much content as the other competitors.
It's a trickle.
It's cheaper though, but excellent curation.
I think Gary Oldman to me is how a lot of people feel about Stanley Tucci. Like I could watch Gary Oldman makes an omelet, and
I mean they're both great. Tucci's great.
Like who's as an actor doing something incredibly mundane, you'd still watch it. You tune in, you click. Like literally making a teaching you how to make a French omelet, like the classic French omelet, very simple thing to do.
Oh, I mean, who
would you click on?
Most actors. Like I love a lot of actors, and I would love to watch them make an omelet. I mean, obviously Nicolas Cage making an omelet would be an event that you would want to see. Michael Shannon making an omelet. Who wouldn't want to watch Michael Shannon make an omelet? Helen Mirren making an omelet
would be amazing.
It would be amazing.
I like to crack the eggs. I use a little butter. Guys.
Step 1, you gotta grease the pan.
I use a fork to break the yolks. I don't want the yolks to fight me. Kill them first thing.
Everybody.
I would definitely. You know who I like is the guy from Boardwalk Empire who also did the 70s music show. What's the tall guy's name?
Bobby Cannavale.
Bobby Cannavale making an omelet would be fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about this because I just watched on Netflix Jon Favreau and the chef. Chef.
Oh, yeah. The chef show that he does, yeah.
It's a chef show, and Jon Favreau cutting onions and getting instruction on how to cut the onions is interesting. It just shows you some people have charisma. You know, the charisma thing?
Sure.
Some
There's
people
also Selena Gomez has an HBO Max show where she cooks with celebrity chefs.
I haven't seen that yet. I want to see that one.
Chef, yeah.
Interesting. All right. I know this because I went down the chef rabbit hole the last 2 days because I'm in downtown LA for 24 hours to see Roger Waters. Incredible show last night. I was in the front row. Shout out to my friend Mark Jeffrey who got first row seats for us.
Wow.
Just unbelievable. I mean, guy's 79 years old, puts on a hell of a show. Is like, it's really interesting to watch somebody from the 60s or 70s, like a radical, still keeping up that radical.
Yeah. Well, he's very outspoken still.
Yeah,
Mr.
very
Waters.
outspoken. And he was, yeah. I mean, just going to his show led to my feed.
In trouble last week.
I got myself in trouble. Like, they were like, you went to see him? He thinks this about that. And I was like, didn't check his feed.
Well, he was saying some
albums.
anti-Ukraine stuff. He was taking sort of Russia's side in the Russia-Ukraine business.
And then you watch him do the show. He's just a pacifist who doesn't want people murdered because he experienced a lot of pain and suffering in his life. And he's just a very hurt person because he saw people suffer and die. And it's like really interesting, like breaking down this issue of the artist and what their experience is in today's lens of like the artist's belief system has to be put against whatever today's cultural lens is. And I was just saying, like, how would The Wall have been received today?
He's also, it's this bizarre shift. He's from this era where rock stars were supposed to be jerks and difficult. And that was part of it. Like, that was part of the persona, was that they're iconoclasts and they have their
turning
own
over a table,
way of
trashing
thinking,
a
like
hotel room.
Reed. And I mean, it was a whole generation of these guys.
Yeah,
and
very punk rock.
We hate that now. Now we want them to be good boys and everybody should be nice to everybody. And like, it's just the culture has shifted so much that it is hard to imagine how a Roger Waters, like, would he even have a career today, or would it right away be like, this guy's a jerk? We don't want to listen.
It would have been like
him.
The Wall. Like, why are you putting us through this? Like, painful thing to watch. These songs are too abrasive. This is like, get over, they would have just been like, why are you singing about this? Like, you can't dance to this. I was just sitting in there watching.
You're
a
saying
bunch of
children don't need an education?
Yeah, like, wait, why are they not listening to the teacher? What is it? What about the teacher? Why should you? And why are you telling the teacher to leave them alone? What is the teacher doing to them? Is it in Florida?
To me, that's the whole shift. It's like rock stars used to be this like elusive, and it was like a magical thing. They were from another place. They weren't like us, It was like you would go to a concert and you're convening with them for like an hour and a half, but then they're going to go back to their rock star world, and you have no idea. And today it's Twitter and Twitch; they're everywhere.
Which rock
There's
star?
no mystique anymore.
All right, which classic rock star, if they were alive today, on Twitter, would you most want to follow? I have one that just comes right up to my head.
I mean, John Lennon would be banned from Twitter.
You nailed it.
Yeah, Lennon would have been banned from day one. He would have gotten himself banned like day one.
You want me to take a vaccine?
Yeah, right. No, just like pics or something. Like, he would have gotten in trouble immediately. But he's from that era. That was what you were supposed to be like if you were
He'd be on Twitch with Yoko Ono in bed. He'd be like, we're live streaming from our bed. This is a message to Donald Trump.
They absolutely
secure the border. Build the wall. Wait, no. Uncle John, don't.
Yeah.
Don't build a wall. All right, listen. Speaking of walls being built, I've been really wanting to see this film, Return to Dust. Have you seen this?
Yeah. No, it played at the Berlin Film Festival, but so far I don't think it's gotten much of an international release. Mostly
I've been hearing about this film. I've also been hearing about the film The Wow. Those are the two films.
That's the Aronofsky one with Brendan Fraser.
Yes, I like Aronofsky. I mean, I know he's off the rails sometimes, and it's hard to watch his stuff. But this one, The Wow, which was based on a play with Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
They gave him like a 8-minute standing ovation at Cannes, which I think the average is like
Brendan
4
Fraser
minutes.
Already a large guy, but he's playing like a 400-pound housebound man, and so he's putting on like a lot of prosthetics. And they're saying I haven't seen the movie. They're saying the performance is incredible, and it's earning a lot of comparisons to The Wrestler, which is probably my favorite Aronofsky movie. That one with
The Wrestlers. I have to watch it again.
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
I'm looking forward to that one. Yeah, Return to Dust is it's like a pastoral. It's like a love story about a farmer and his wife over the course of decades, like taking in their lives from their courtship I think it's an arranged marriage when they first meet and get married, and then over the course of their whole lives together on this farm. And it's a realistic depiction of, the gritty, tough life of a Chinese farmer. And so what we're leading into in China right now, the Party Congress, which is like the biggest event for the Chinese Communist Party. All the party members get together, ceremonies and celebrations. And they really like it to take place during a time of national pride and patriotism and a celebration of the Chinese character and the country of China. And so this is all conjecture. This movie, Return to Dust, played at Berlin, was celebrated, was a hit film in China. It's now on Chinese streaming services, but this week it has been totally pulled. It's gone. And there was social media. There were hashtags about what happened to it, and then those social media hashtags have been banned.
Yes.
So
okay, we know what's going on.
There's obviously something going on. And the theory is that it's because we're so close to the Party Congress that the Chinese Communist Party is like, look, this movie is about how it sucks to live in the countryside and farmers have it really tough. That's not the image we want people to have of China right now. Let's get rid of this thing.
This is like their nomad land. The Francis McDormand.
A bit. It's like sort of demystifying, like taking away, humanizing the mystique, taking away the mystery, making it like, look, we romanticize stories about Chinese farmers and the rural life of the peasants or whatever. But this is a more realistic, sort of gritty, everyday depiction
of their life. Oh, did you like Nomadland, by the way?
I did. You know, I thought the Amazon stuff, Nomadland. I thought the Amazon stuff where they were working at the Amazon warehouse was real weird and felt sort of like artificial. I know Chloe Zhao wanted to shoot in those Amazon warehouses, and that part I felt disconnected from the rest of the movie. But once it became Frances McDormand sort of on her own with the amateur actors, I really liked it. I liked all that stuff.
I wonder if Amazon, in some way participated in this, like allowed them to shoot a factory. They did. She got permission to shoot inside the Amazon warehouses for those scenes. But I mean, I think that's also why, if you notice, the characters, they're all pretty upbeat about their Amazon jobs. Like, they love the Amazon job. They wish they could last more along the year. They're like sad when it's over and they've got to go back to the desert because it's a good source of money for them. Which I think is accurate. Like the people who get those jobs. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not. I feel like another filmmaker would probably engage with that more because it's a topic.
Yes.
Like there would be more of the most interesting.
Well, that was the thing I found super interesting was I was thinking about my parents, which one does when you're starting to think about people in their 70s or 80s when you're of a certain age. And I was thinking, well, what if my dad or my mom had to do this, right? And they needed money and this was an option they found to go work for 3 months before Christmas, work 7 days a week, whatever, 12-hour shifts. Mm-hmm. And these 70-year-olds packing Christmas toys and whatever for the holiday season and then living, like this very nomadic lifestyle, like in a parking lot, essentially, in a campground. And I was trying to think of if like the humanity of it, and it kind of messes with your brain a little bit thinking about the humanity of that, doesn't it? Like,
oh yeah, for sure. And I still liked how it didn't feel like it was being pushed into a narrative. It felt like we were following Frances McDormand's character, and it didn't feel like it was rise and fall. This happens, then this. It's more just like the rhythms and patterns of her life, and like a year in the life of this woman. And I really did. I like that sort of rhythm of it.
It wasn't like we're going to uplift you at the end and she's going to become, she gets stock options at Amazon and gets a mansion in a jet.
Right.
Like, she doesn't take her money and buy Amazon at $2. And this is like a life.
How a chapter in your life is. Like, you start somewhere, you end up somewhere else, you've maybe grown or learned things, but it's not, it's not like, well, everything's resolved happily ever after. And I like that. And it added to the lived in kind of realism of the rest of the movie. I also thought some amazing performances from amateur actors, almost everybody except David Strathairn. He's professional, the guy she starts dating. All the other people that she's living with who are in the sort of RV little area with her, those are all real nomads who live that lifestyle for real, including the guy she's talking to who's like the author of the book about how to live that lifestyle.
Yes.
That's the real guy. He's telling his real story about his son dying and how he got to be on the road. And that's such a moving scene to get from a guy who's not even an actor, just telling his life story.
I think this film is going to, I have to watch it again. This film has haunted me since I've seen it. my connection to the tech industry. Obviously, if you're in the tech industry, I think this film is not judgmental in any way. It's not attacking Amazon. It's not.
No, it's just matter of fact.
It's just like you're saying, they're just like, here is actually what's happening. It felt so authentic. And then these people want to be in this lifestyle. They're opting into being this nomadic lifestyle. It's almost like they're at the end of their life. And I often think about the end of my own life and other people's lives. And I think, what is that last 10 years where you're trying to figure out what just happened? You know that, like, what just happened in my life the last 5 years? And then, well, I'm still alive. So maybe I get something out of this last 5 or 10 years. And what I want to get out of this five or 10 years is just being with these people and just making some coffee by a campfire. I thought, in a way, it's one of the beautiful films of our time that I don't think people saw it. And I think for a lot of people, they missed it. They were looking for this Amazon. I'm going to make a point at some point, I'm going to make I'm going to tell you how to feel about, people working in factories, or I'm going to tell you how to feel about e-commerce and local stores going away and the Walmartification. It wasn't a treatise on capitalism. It was it was a meditation on the end of your life and what you want to get out of it. This film is so powerful.
And it's Chloe Zhao's not afraid to give you time to think. It's a patient movie. There's space in it.
Yes.
Yes. And so often films, even indie films, even lower budget films, even smaller films, they have that relentlessness of pace that this, then this, then this, then this. They're afraid you're going to look at your phone. You're going to look at your phone. There's that Miyazaki concept of Ma. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Miyazaki, the great animator, Hayao Miyazaki, he talks about, he calls it, it's a Japanese word, ma, and it means emptiness or stillness. And he's in every movie, he has to figure out how is he adding, it's like umami, like the fifth taste that it's hard to sort of describe. Sure. It's hard to sort of necessarily describe ma when you see, but you know it when you see it. It's a moment in a film or a show where it's just, it's characters walking, it's wheat grass blowing in the breeze. It's rain. It's a moment of quiet and stillness to allow you to reflect on what you've just seen, what you're watching, and where it maybe is going to go next. And it invites you to do that, exactly that kind of contemplation that you're talking about, that I think we've trained them to not do during movies, that you're supposed to do to get the most out of it.
This is the problem. I have a concept at movie theaters. There should be a movie theater, with the collecting of the phones. At comedy shows.
Right.
I have now, I'm lucky enough to, one of my dreams came true as a kid. I always loved movies. I wanted to be a movie reviewer. I had seen Siskel and Ebert when I was 12, 14 years old. And I told my mom, the first job I ever told her I wanted to have, I said, I think I want to review movies like Siskel and Ebert because you get paid to go watch movies. And I love movies. This was a mind-bending capitalistic thing that I made the connection. And anyway, I have a movie theater in this ski house that I bought. And, I now will find a great movie and I turn my phone off or I put it on the other side of the room. And I've just decided this year I'm going to start leaving the phone out of the room and having no devices because I do find myself pulling out my phone. And it's very easy to do that, like in a Marvel film where you're like, well, I've seen every fight scene possible. Do I need to see this or not?
This is one of those things about the theatrical experience too. When you hear people talk about they always think of it as Avatar. Well, you got to go see it on the biggest screen in IMAX and 3D. That's the theatrical experience. But part of the theatrical experience is just that you're in a quiet, dark room with no distractions. That's how movies were designed to be watched. And now we watch them in this very, doing three other things kind of way. And I'm not blaming other people. I do this too.
How do you not? The phone is ever present and it's you can pick this thing up and find the most interesting 30-second video. And that moment, what'd you call the moment? Moment of Ma?
Ma, M-A, Ma.
M-A. So that Ma moment, by definition, you have to let kind of sweep over you. It cannot compete with the TikTok video. Because the algorithm has picked something to dopamine your brain.
And now if a filmmaker puts that in the movie intentionally, we're trained to zone out. Oh, this is a good chance to check my phone. It's no, this is the moment
you missed the mom moment.
Now you get drawn into Hal's world. This is how you learn. This is how Spirited Away envelops you.
Yes. It's so lost. I mean, the whole concept of going to a theater and having that experience, I think, it's going to be lost on this generation. But our generation, I think we're the last one to fully embrace that. We would
My hope is that it becomes like a vinyl record thing. Like vinyl records are not the primary. That's not the way most people listen to music. Spotify is much easier, and you can just pull it up on Spotify or YouTube. But for aficionados, for people who really care and get into it, there's a vibrant community of people who still collect record players and go to record shops and buy records. My hope is that even when I'm an old man, I'll still be able to go to a movie theater because there will still be a little vibrant community of people like me who haven't let go of that yet. But most people, I feel like it's going to be on your phone or AR.
I'll tell you the thing whatever. I miss most about it. When people looked at it as cinema, and we would go to the Angelica in New York on Broadway in Houston. We go down there. You've been to it, yeah. And I've
seen the movie there.
Yeah, we would go. And sometimes we go at like 6 o'clock. We'd look at what movies were available. Because buying tickets, you didn't have the internet. You just go, you'd look at what's available. You buy a ticket for later that evening.
This is how it used to be. You used to go to they would have 6 screens. You'd be like, we'll see what we're interested in that's starting next is what we'll see.
Yeah. So what we would do is typically we'd meet at the Angelica at 5 o'clock. We pick a movie. Could be at 7, 8, 9, whatever. Okay, now we're going to go have dinner. Let's go. Oh, movie's coming quick. We're going to go for some quick dinner. Oh, we got time. We'll be leisurely about it. But the best part was after the movie, getting a cup of coffee, getting a drink, whatever it was, and breaking down what you just saw. And that was like the whole tradition of it, right? And I think for young people out there, see some of these like seminal great films, turn your phone off and then really have a discussion about what the artist was like attempting to do. And then this is why I really, back to this film being banned in China, Return to Dust is why I really want to see it. And I hope that this is my great hope is that like the theater experience can actually be even more coveted where like people come together and they have talks afterwards. I always felt like when I went to Sundance for the first time, and I really want to go back to Sundance and get a press pass, because after each movie, these nerds would go and sit outside and go to the cafe at the Yarrow, have a cup of bad coffee, and we talk about the movie. I kid you not. I watched Napoleon Dynamite, watch this other film. We go sit. Roger Ebert's there, just to come full circle on Like My Dream. Roger Ebert's there, and he's alone, and 2 of us come walking up. He's like, "Join me." Whoa. So now we're talking to him. Then Elvis Mitchell from the New York Times walks up.
Yeah.
Remember Elvis Mitchell?
Yeah, sure. Of course.
This is like
that's what film festivals did. You really used to be like that. Less so now. I think they're more, it's become more of a Comic-Con, like crowded, like it's harder. Yeah. But yeah, when I first started going to film festivals, it really was like that. You were just, you would be walking down the street and you'd just pass by.
Super
people
accessible.
talk, random groups of people talking with celebrities and reviewers, and it wasn't that big of a community.
But let that sink in. There was the celebrity at Sundance was Roger Ebert, because he really thought about the movie, the art, and what was there. And this is one of the things I love about my friendship with you.
In the early aughts, I'll tell a very quick story that I know we got to get out of here. Yeah. In the very early aughts, I went to the Santa Barbara Film Festival to cover it for like my college paper. So this would have been like 99 or 2000. And I was watching a movie. It was an adaptation of a Ray Bradbury short story. And then I went to there was a McDonald's down State Street from where the movie was. And I got a little bite to eat before the next screening. And in comes Joe Mantegna, the star of the movie, and Ray Bradbury. And they sat right next to me in McDonald's and ate their meal. And I said to them,
of fish?
Hey,
what did Ray Bradbury? I think Ray Bradbury gets a filet of fish.
Like a burger or something. I said, hey, I just watched your guys' movie and it was great. And they were like, hey, thanks, man. I was like, I'm talking to Joe Mantegna and Ray Bradbury in a McDonald's on State Street in Santa Barbara. Like that was incredible. That was 20 years ago already.
Yeah. And if you're young and you want to make movies, go make art. All right, listen, that's Lon Harris, the amazing Lon Harris. Follow him, twitter.com/Lons, get inside.com/streaming, the newsletter. And you can always play Stump the Lon. Just go to twitter.com and you type in, I love this film and this TV show. Or you could say, I love this album and I love this TV show. You could say, I love this album. I love this type of food. And I love this movie, and he will tell you more of what you'll love. He's literally an algorithm. He's a cultural algorithm and a cultural treasure. Thank you, Lon Harris.